Good morning. A career journalist and a career diplomat. The presidential office announces new nominees for the prime ministerial post and NIS chief. Diversity shines here in Incheon as the port city gets ready for the 17th Asian Games set to take place beginning in September. And big money from a mom and pops. Even with the increasing number of global franchises settling in Korea, small businesses are standing out in a big way. And camping in the great outdoors is a great way to bond with friends and family, so put those smartphones away on Korea Today, Wednesday, June 11th, 2014.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
And a good Wednesday morning. Thank you for joining us on Korea Today. I'm Kim Young alongside Kim Min-jung and Jinju.
Good morning, everyone. Some of our viewers joining us from Korea might have had a rough night last night because of all the lightning and thunder. And for someone like Young, who happens to like the sound of thunder.
I'm actually afraid. I couldn't sleep last night.
Or it's music to your ears,
well,
right?
It is music to my ears. It has a settling way about it for some reason.
And so even in some parts of Seoul, they saw hail for the first time in 2 years. And in Seoul alone, different areas saw a different amount of precipitation. And where I live, rain, thunder, and lightning only lasted for about 30 minutes. But where Young lived,
and where I lived, it lasted for like good 3 hours.
Yeah, I think it went on to the night. I remember waking up at around 2 o'clock, and that was fine around then. But yeah, the skies did show quite a display there.
And these conditions will continue throughout this week, so be in the know.
That's right, and we'll have the weather for you coming up with Chun Song-cho later on Korea Today. But now we jump to our top story for the morning. Now, for the first time, a career journalist has been tapped for Korea's #2 political position. The presidential office announced former editor-in-chief of 중앙일보 and head of the Korea News Editors Association, Moon Chang-guk's nomination for the prime ministerial post on Tuesday. Moon's integrity as a journalist was cited as a key point in the nomination, as the new prime minister would lead government restructuring and reform in the aftermath of the Sewol ferry disaster. And if Moon receives parliamentary confirmation, he would become Korea's first ever reporter turned prime minister. And as for the head of the nation's spy agency, Korea's chief envoy to Japan, Lee Byung-gi, was named as the new director of the National Intelligence Service. Lee has frequently been cited as one of the core senior members to President Park Geun-hye, since her first presidential bid in 2007. The former deputy director of the NIS and career diplomat also needs to go through parliamentary confirmation, though the National Assembly cannot reject Lee's appointment.
The captain and the 14 crew members of the Sewol ferry have denied charges that they intentionally had abandoned the sinking ship, which led to the killing of some 300 passengers on board. The public defender representing Captain Lee Jun-seok said he had believed that it was the role of the Coast Guard to rescue the passengers and that he had done all he could as the ferry was capsizing. The other defendants made similar statements, alleging that they thought the Coast Guard would be responsible for the rescue operations. Prosecutors argue that the sailors fled the sinking ship with the knowledge that the passengers would die, thus charging them with homicide with willful negligence, which could lead to the maximum sentence, the death penalty. Also on Tuesday, as authorities continue their search for Yoo Byung-eun, de facto owner of the Sewol ferry operator, President Park Geun-hye called for a swift capture of the man accused of compromising safety management. 12 passengers, including 6 students, are still missing.
And as the local currency maintains its strongest level in nearly 6 years, major investment banking firms have adjusted their original outlook for the $1 exchange rate. According to Bloomberg on Wednesday, Credit Suisse forecast 975 won to the dollar, while Morgan Stanley set the outlook at 1,000 won towards the year's end, and breaking under the 1,000 won marker by the first quarter of 2015. Analysts attribute the forecast to the weakening dollar in the global market and Korea's current account surplus. The Bank of Korea said earlier that it would take measures if volatility in the currency market increases, while some are calling for immediate actions for the sake of competitive exports.
Many here in Korea are looking forward to the Brazil World Cup, which is just 2 days away from now. But there is another big sporting event coming up this year. In fact, the second largest multi-sports event following the Olympic Games. Yes, we're talking about the 2014 Incheon Asian Games, which kick off in exactly 100 days from now. And Arirang News' Kwon So-ah is out at the main venue of this year's Asian Games this morning to tell us more. Good morning, So-ah.
Good morning, Jinju from Incheon, where the diversity shines here. Now, that's the slogan for the 17th Asian Games, which takes place from September 19th to October 4th. Now, the city of Incheon says it will do its best to display the diversity of Asia and also help the continent to reach its goal of developing its potential during the event as well. So how are preparations going so far, and what can we expect in this year's event? Let's take a look. Incheon, a port city in northwestern Korea with the country's third largest population, is gearing up to host the biggest regional sporting event, the Asian Games. The history of the Asian Games dates back to 1951, when it was first hosted in New Delhi. 35 years later, it came to South Korea for the first time, held in the nation's capital, and later to Busan. 7 years ago, Incheon was lucky enough to be chosen as the third Korean host city for the 2014 Games. So how much has the city prepared for the grand event? A celebration for the completion of the Incheon Asian main stadium, which is considered a new city landmark, was held last month. The opening and closing ceremonies will be held there, and after the event, it'll be modified into a public culture business venue. However, the over 110,000 square meter large stadium with space for 60,000 spectators is still not ready for on-field training. 16 out of 49 stadiums for the Games are newly constructed, while the rest of them have been remodeled.
So far, we focus on promoting the Incheon Asian Games and the city of Incheon, but now we are discussing how to distribute the various contents we have in a well-structured way. As the current financial situation isn't that favorable, we will look into marketing with the time that remains in order to avoid losses from the event.
To differentiate the Games from previous ones, the Incheon Asian Games Organizing Committee is trying to make it the most economical, efficient, and eco-friendly event to date that will hopefully stand as a role model for developing countries that want to host the Games in the future. Also, Korea's strength in information technology will be utilized to make the Games more convenient for athletes and spectators alike. Not to mention, organizers are also preparing to welcome the North Korean team, which announced its participation last month despite heightened inter-Korean tensions. So what do Incheon citizens think of the event?
I'm very excited since the events take place in my neighborhood.
I look forward to the Games, as I have never watched such a big event up close.
As an Incheon citizen, I do have my worries. I think it was too much of a financial burden for the city to build new stadiums.
Roughly $2.2 billion were spent on the event's preparations.
Although we have financial difficulties, when the Incheon Asian Games are held successfully, Incheon will not only become a hub in Northeast Asia, but will grow into a global city.
Hosting such a high-profile event comes with risks, but according to the Korea Institute for International Economic Policy, the Incheon Asian Games has the potential to generate economic impact worth $1.3 billion and create 270,000 new jobs.
So it definitely seems that a lot of effort is being put in to make this international event a successful one. But how are the stars of the event, the athletes, preparing?
Well, from archery to wushu, all across Asia, training is in full swing. And actually, we can get a glimpse of some national competitors preparing for the Games today at the Korea National Training Center in Taereun in Seoul, as well as at the Jincheon Training Center in Chungcheongbuk-do Province. And that is because today is Media Day.
And it's not only the athletes, but I bet a lot of people as spectators want to be involved or take part in the lead up to the Asian Games. Are there any suggestions?
Well, there is a fun way to participate in the so-called Smart Torch Relay. All you have to do is download an application of the same name to become yourself a torchbearer. And you just have to place your phone to another phone in order to automatically pass a virtual flame to another phone. So that should be fun.
Yeah, that sure sounds like a fun way to count the days off until the Games. Thank you, Soa, for that report. That was our Kwon Soa reporting on the Incheon Asian Games from the Incheon Asian main stadium.
Good morning. It's time for a run-through of the front pages of today's local papers. And all of the newspapers this morning have the newly tapped Prime Minister and Director of the National Intelligence Service as its top headline. We'll begin with that story on 조선일보. And the headline reads, New Prime Minister Moon Chang-guk and new spy chief Lee Byung-gi nominated. Now, taking a look at these sub-headlines, the newly selected Prime Minister by the President is a former journalist and the new intelligence chief, the ambassador to Japan. Now, Moon, as you heard earlier, if confirmed, would be the country's first ever journalist turned prime minister. However, the opposition parties heavily opposed the nomination, saying that Moon is too strong of a conservative, thus they would be determined to make him fail at his parliamentary confirmation hearing. Meanwhile, the article also notes that the cabinet reshuffle may take place in 2 steps. And let's go over to Japan now, over on 동아일보 to this side story here. And this story is about Japan's ruling parties remaining divided on Tuesday over whether the country should exercise the right to collective self-defense. The headline reads, Japanese government drafts a statement on right to collective self-defense. Wanting to secure an early agreement to remove the long-standing ban, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has urged senior government officials to draft a statement that will turn into a cabinet decision as he aims to have it approved by the end of the current Diet session on June 22nd. However, as a sub-headline here notes, the opposition junior coalition partner New Komeito Party, along with many civic groups, have backlashed against this move. And coming back to Korea now on 중앙일보, let's take a look at that story below that image there closely. Go back to that slide. And it has been nearly 3 weeks since authorities issued an arrest warrant for Yu Byung-an, the de facto owner of the sunken Seoul ferry, but his whereabouts are still unknown. Now, in the meantime, procedures of disposition by legal force have been launched on some of Yu's properties under borrowed names. The title says legal disposition of Yu Byung-an's union lands begins. The Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry says that 3 to 4 of these territories that are registered as part of the Farmers Union have actually not been used for farming, with no agricultural management taking place on them either. And authorities fear that the possessions may be used for investment and speculation purposes. Finally, going to our business daily, the Korea Economic Daily. Take a look at that story at the bottom there. And these words coming from the president. The title reads, President Park Geun-hye says, return to daily economic activities. At the cabinet meeting yesterday, she said that it's time now for businesses to go back to normal activities, and that it is what will be good for the public. In the meantime, she did also mention about Yu Byung-an. She said that she demanded once again for a swift arrest, saying it doesn't make sense that the prosecution and police are not able to catch him after all this time. And that was a look at your newspaper headlines for this Wednesday. And coming up are the stock numbers from Tuesday.
As we mentioned at the top of the show, we are expecting some fickle weather conditions this week, including hail and more lightning and thunder.
That's right, unstable weather conditions, so it should be wise to have an umbrella with you. For more on today's weather, we'll go over to Chun Sung-cho.
Good morning to you, Sung-cho.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys. I'm reporting live from the Arirang Tower, and as you can see behind me, the view from up here is fantastic. The air conditions are very clear as it was raining just a few hours ago. It was quite alarming though last night with all the thunder and lightning, not to mention the heavy showers that would just randomly come and go, and even some hail around the capital area. It was an example of the unstable atmosphere all across the country as the high pressure system to the east of Japan is expanding. The air is most unstable along the boundaries of the pressure system, which is right above the peninsula, thus giving off lots of rain clouds nationwide. Today won't be much different. We are expecting again sudden showers up to 40 millimeters with gusty winds, thunder, and lightning all across the country. As of now, it's only raining in the west part of the central regions, and here in Seoul, the roads are still quite wet from the showers earlier on. These spells of rain will continue until Friday, so don't forget to take your umbrella with you on your way out this morning and for the next couple of days. Now let's move on over to a closer look at today's forecast. Temperatures are comfortably hovering around the mid-20s. Seoul's highs are 26, and Gwangju and Daejeon are the warmest at 27. However, the eastern regions like Gangneung, where its highs are just 1 degree shy of 20, remains the coolest out of all the major cities due to strong easterly winds. This is all for me with the weather update. Back to you, Minjung.
Thank you, Sung-cho. Time now for a look through our global headlines. We have our Eunice Kim standing by at the news center. Good morning to you, Eunice.
Good morning, Minjung.
Iraq has been riddled with violence for months, if not years, and the insurgency just took a decisive turn, grabbing control of the country's second largest city.
That's right, Minjung. Hundreds of fighters have claimed the northern province of Nineveh after successfully launching assaults on its provincial capital of Mosul on Tuesday. And Iraq's prime minister, we're learning this morning, has asked his parliament for a state of emergency. Behind the attacks are militants believed to be part of ISIL, the Islamic State in Iraq and the Levant, the former al-Qaeda affiliate that wants an Islamic State in Iraq and Syria and had taken control of the western city of Fallujah earlier this year. Now, the Associated Press reports in this latest attack, they freed about 1,400 prisoners from Mosul's jails as others captured the governor's headquarters and TV stations. What makes the province even more significant is that it is a major export route for Iraqi oil, also a gateway to neighboring Syria. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon expressed his grave concern at the country's deteriorating security situation. Moving on to other news now, veteran hardliner politician Reuven Rivlin has been chosen as Israel's next president. Rivlin succeeds Nobel Peace Laureate Shimon Peres, who leaves his largely ceremonial post in July after 7 years as president. And unlike Peres, who used his post to advocate for peace with Palestinians, Rivlin is known to want a confederation with Palestine over an independent state, a view that puts him at odds with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, a member of the ruling Likud party, Rivlin last month told the Times of Israel he would not intervene in the decisions of politicians if elected to the post.
And shifting gears now, we are now just a couple of days away from the 2014 Brazil World Cup, and there is a metro strike in that country that is now suspended, but the word is that we're not completely out of the woods just yet.
You're right, and that's because the subway union announced that they would decide on whether to resume their strike on Thursday local time, which could be just hours ahead of the World Cup's first match set to be played in Sao Paulo that day. Metro workers had temporarily suspended the strike yesterday after entering their 5th day of protests. They'll vote in the next day or two whether to resume resume their strike. Meanwhile, one construction worker was killed and 2 others hurt when a large concrete support beam fell on the workers while it was being erected. It was part of a monorail meant to expand the city's metro network. An investigation to the cause is on the way. And that's a wrap of the global headlines we're following this morning.
And still ahead, a neighborhood bakery with fans from all over the country. The store sells 10,000 baked goods in a day and rakes in 28 billion won per year. The success story of Sungsimdang Bakery is coming up on our news segment, Strike Gold.
These days, you can search for just about anything on the internet, from early artwork pieces like the Venus of Willendorf to anything that you want to see. But nothing quite beats the near real thing. And our Lee Min-hee joins us with more on this. Good morning.
Good morning. No.
So it's not the real thing, but it's the near real thing.
Right. So wouldn't it be nice to jet set and check out all these artworks? But unfortunately, it's not possible for most people. And so the art community often turns to replicas in turn of the original. And they use these replicas not only to protect the original, but also to share these art pieces with the larger audience. So take a look.
Standing over 5 meters tall, this statue is a legendary work in the art world. Hand carved out of stone, the figure stands, one of the most famous statues in all of history. From the Renaissance period, Michelangelo is known as a genius artist who has created countless masterpieces, such as the Pietà statue, which is originally housed at St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican City. And exact replicas of his works have been created, making his work more accessible for all. Other replicas of famous works by Michelangelo have also been put on display, including a recreated workroom that lets people see just what Michelangelo himself would have seen hundreds of years ago.
We wanted to recreate the exact battle scene. From every angle, we wanted to look identical, so people can look and draw exactly what was there years ago.
Aside from shopping, many department stores also house art galleries, some featuring works from world-famous artists. 17 different artists and 90 different works of art, these replicas of famous artworks are made more accessible through this exhibition and are much more affordable, giving the public a chance to express their inner love for art.
So these are all replicas of work done by very famous artists. Now, what are some of the artists that were featured in the second exhibition?
Right, so some of those artists, they come from all over the world. But if you remember, a few weeks ago, I brought in the works from the Japanese pop artist Yayoi Kusama.
Yes, yes.
So some of her works are featured there as well. But an interesting collection of mostly modern and contemporary artists there.
Okay, so these replicas, I mean, they're used for the general audience. Obviously, you don't want to damage the real thing, so they make these replicas, these intricate replicas, and they show them to the audience. But is it just for the general audience, or what's the extent of the use of these replicas?
Right, so replicas really serve a large purpose in the art community. They preserve the original so that they can be passed on to the future generations, but replicas also are used by museums so that they can share the original with other museums as well. And so they'll take a replica and they'll put it in the museum and they'll lend out the original to other museums. So there is a difference between the original and the replica, obviously.
Okay, so the people that go to the museum to see the original, they might not be seeing the original.
Exactly. That does happen once in a while.
Okay.
So you're going to want to check that out before. But you know, replicas, making replicas itself is really an art as well. And so there are different levels of replicas, and you know, the price tags with those are pretty hefty as well.
Just because they're replicas, that doesn't mean they're a knockoff. I mean, these are very pricey and done by a master artist as well, right? All right, thank you very much, Uni.
My pleasure.
And stay with us, because if you are into camping, then we are going to be talking about some camping products on our hot items today. Now, camping has become the norm. It's become the trend as well, with many different products hitting the market. Now, you can have even more fun for yourself as well as for the children with their own gear. Kid-size, easy-to-use products and cute designs that are trending, and we have some of them on hot items.
And time now for New Sum Up. With the warmer temperatures of summer, many people are heading outdoors for picnics and camping, but there are things to watch out.
That's right. The summer season, it can be the perfect formula for some waterborne and foodborne diseases. And so for more on how to prevent infections and other keywords that are trending now, we are joined by Sungsimdang from the Digital Room. Good morning to you.
Good morning, that's right. So proper handling of food and frequent hand washing is important more than ever. Before I delve deeper into this topic though, let's first run through some of the other issues that were trending the past 24 hours. A bill which will prevent the export of Jinju Meteorites was submitted to the National Assembly, while the trial against the captain and 14 crew members of the Sungsimdang ferry began yesterday. Many look up details on Moon Chang-guk, the former journalist nominated for Prime Minister by President Park, as well as this year's Miss USA Nia Sanchez, who holds a 4th degree black belt in Taekwondo, the Korean martial arts. Now going back to the first listing there, with a warmer than usual summer ahead of us, the Korea Centers for Disease Control and Prevention yesterday cautioned against waterborne and foodborne infections. They reiterated the importance of thorough hand washing and proper food handling to prevent such illnesses. Let's take a look. Waterborne diseases common during the warmer months include bacterial dysentery, typhoid, and E. coli. They come with signs and symptoms such as fever, abdominal discomfort, and diarrhea. They usually spread through drinking contaminated water, which is of particular concern for those going on summer picnics or camping trips. In addition, the vast majority of waterborne diseases reported in Korea is traced back to infection whilst overseas, so extra caution is advised for those with vacation trips ahead. The best method for prevention is to wash your hands thoroughly and frequently, and to only drink safe water such as that bottled or boiled. Meanwhile, food poisoning from bacteria such as Salmonella, Clostridium, and Campylobacter also peak during the summer months, so proper cold storage and handling is paramount, as well as fully cooking all meat and seafood products. Moving on to our next item, a bill proposing an amendment to the Korea Space Development Promotion Act was submitted to the National Assembly yesterday. If passed, it will mean that the Jinju Meteorites found last March in Gyeongsang-do province won't be able to be exported out of the country. Let's take a look. The bill calls for the registration of all meteorites discovered in Korea to prevent loss during storage and transportation. It also prohibits meteorites from being exported out of the country in light of its research and cultural value. If the bill is voted into law, it will retroactively apply to the meteorites found last March in Jinju City. The rocks were the first set of meteorites discovered in the country in 71 years and are valued to be worth at least $350,000 US, highlighting the need for a system to vouch its safekeeping. The bill has been drafted by a lawmaker representing Jinju City based on discussions with the Science Ministry and the government task force dedicated to the Jinju meteorites. Now, once passed, it will provide a systematic guideline for the discovery and verification of meteorites through to their storage and use. And that's a wrap up for me. This has been Sungsimdang with your daily news sum up.
Yesterday morning was not a good morning for the fans of the Korean national football team. It suffered a crushing defeat against Ghana in its final tune-up match before the World Cup in Brazil. Now, some of us saw this coming, but that doesn't make it any less painful, right?
It was painful. Very painful. Now, this left many fans wondering what happened to the team. I think many considered it to be the best football team, Korean football team in history. Much individual talent there, but it's not working out. SJ Lee joins us to tell us what the deal is.
What happened there?
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
I know we were
The deal is you predicted it.
Well, I predicted that it was going to be a tough match, and it was obviously a tough match, right? And we're all watching it. We had our fingers crossed, wanting a better result. Obviously, we didn't get the kind of result that we all wanted. But of course, it proved that Ghana looked to be too tough for the Taeguk Warriors. And of course, it didn't take long for Ghana to penetrate Korea's defense in this game as Andre Ayew scored just 11 minutes into the match with Asamoah Gyan making it 2-0 just before the end of the first half. Now, from there, it just got worse as Ayew found the back of the net 2 more times to tally a hat-trick in the match as Korea lost 4-0, as you guys mentioned. But it was much more than the 4-0 loss for Korea. Now, they head over to Brazil lacking the motivation they needed.
Yeah, and that motivation can play a huge factor. It's that team morale, right? But there are some experts who say that everything that could go wrong went wrong, right?
Exactly.
Give us your analysis.
Here's the thing. If I were to start off with something positive that I saw in the match, their passing wasn't half bad. You know what? They converted 84% of the passing, which is pretty good, although Ghana did convert 85, which is a little bit more. But other than that, well, where do I start, right? I mean, first off, you could see that time to time the team just did not communicate on the backfield, right? The defenders didn't communicate with each other and the midfielders, and they just kept giving too much space to Ghana. And when you look at the offense, which many believe to be the best in Korean football history, and yet they didn't have that finishing touch that you need in order to score. I mean, they had 12 shots more than Ghana, and they still failed to score the entire match. So obviously, a lot of problems with this team right now.
Maybe the fake back numbers confused the players.
Right.
The players
I was supposed to pass to him, but it was him.
Exactly. I mean, maybe that's what happened, right?
So what do they need to do? Like, what changes do they need?
Well, that's the $1 million question right now, right? I mean, to be honest with you, if I was the manager, and I'm not, obviously, Hong Myung-bo is still a very talented head coach, I would change the formation right now because right now they're going for a 4-2-3-1 formation, and obviously we're seeing that they're lacking the defense. So I think they need to focus on their defense a bit more and change the formation. So I would go for a 5-2-2-1 formation, have 5 defenders in the back with Ki Sung-young and Koo Ja-chul in the defensive midfield position. Now, Koo would be actually playing out of his position a bit, but I think he's capable of playing that role. And then you obviously have Son Heung-min and Lee Chung-young playing wing, and then you have to take out Park Ji-young, in my opinion. This guy, he's having a mental breakdown on the offense, and Kim Shin-wook would be on one top because Park Ji-young, like I said, is not working out for the team at this point.
Oh, wow. Look who's a fan.
Well, obviously, right?
Well, but they have their next match is in about 7 days.
Right, exactly a
Wednesday.
week now. And it's actually going to take place at 7 a.m. when Korea Today will air. And, you know, here's the thing. A lot of people are criticizing manager Hong Myung-bo right now. And you have to understand, back in 2002, Gus Hiddink, who we all praise as the legendary head coach, his start with the national team wasn't that great either. So hopefully Hong Myung-bo, who actually learned under Gus Hiddink, will have some positive results once the World Cup does.
So keep our fingers crossed and keep on
the first
cheering.
game starts when Korea Today starts on
Right,
Wednesday.
exactly.
We'll
So
cheer as we do our
let's not scream in the middle of the show, right?
Let's try not to. All right. Thank you, SJ.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
And we have a new segment called Strike Gold, where we look at some small businesses that have become so successful and struck gold and are contributing to the economy as a whole.
Now, these are mom and pop stores. I mean, stores that in a day and age where we see a lot of conglomerates come out with these franchise stores, these are the mom and pop stores that are really making waves and creating success. And joining us is Jessie Day to tell us. Good morning.
We have a bakery today, right?
Good morning. I'm thrilled to be back on Korea Today. It's been quite a while. And today I'm going to be introducing a very special bakery in Daejeon called Sungsimdang.
Sungsimdang.
Sungsimdang,
Right.
sorry, yeah. And they are a bakery that is actually attracting all sorts of attention, people traveling from all across the nation just to get a taste of their baked goods. So why don't we take a look at their secrets for success.
All right.
Daejeon Station, the gateway to Daejeon Metropolitan City. Here you can see everyone carrying the same paper bag. It's the signature Sungsimdang bag.
I came from Busan. I heard about a famous bread in Daejeon, so I'm going to buy some.
3 generations in my family love this bakery, so I always stop by whenever I come to Daejeon.
It says 심 right in the middle. Or 마음심.
Yes, and these
These
are the
actually.
famous baked goods of Sungsimdang. The
That's a
bakery is
line.
always brimming with people from all over the country who come to Daejeon just for the breads here. And yeah, as you can see, it's definitely in demand. The bakery is jam-packed with customers. Baked goods of tens of different shapes and flavors are quickly added to the customers' baskets as soon as they go on display, and those do look quite delicious.
Looks so good.
And as you can see, it is very busy, and the workers are kept on their toes all day long. And
They're
just
buying
how busy
boxes of
is
bread.
it? Yeah, well, this bakery rakes in roughly 50 million won a day. That is some serious dough, and what makes this bakery so special?
Just a tad bit under our paychecks.
We started out as a small steamed bun shop in front of Daejeon Station in 1956. We were able to grow as we did, thanks to the people of Daejeon and their love over the past 58 years.
In 1956, Sungsimdang was just a small steamed bun store in front of a train station. However, Sungsimdang has grown steadily into one of the prides of Daejeon City. Their most popular menu are these: the fried streusel stuffed with red bean paste, quite tasty looking, and also these right here, the chive bun that are stuffed with dumpling fillings.
Looks good.
Yeah,
Ooh.
it sure does. Now, if you were to pile up all the baked goods they sell every day, it would be 18 times the height of the 250-meter tall 63 building. So what's the secret?
성형실.
Well, first and foremost, the secret behind their success is a superb taste of their baked goods. In order to make sure that their bread always tastes great, Sungsimdang only sells the breads baked on the same day. Because they bake everything just before it hits the shelves, the kitchen is practically running all day. And you can see them hard at work here making the chive buns.
Wow, it's good.
Absolutely. Now, another unique feature about the bakery, and as you can see right there, quite mouth-watering, you can sample the freshly baked goods for yourself while you're at the stores. So such generosity is another secret behind their success. And she's quite happy. So another part of the success is, of course, the people. The company always puts people before anything, and that's another one of their secrets. New employees can always seek help from their seniors, and they form study groups. Employees are also encouraged to apply for support for their studies in baking. And being able to sample the goods you make is obviously a nice bonus.
Sungsimdang always thinks of employees as the driving force and the future. It is an operational rule at Sungsimdang to support the employees' education so they may truly learn the technique of baking.
Now, breads that weren't sold on the day are donated to the local community and people in need, which is the third key to their success. This practice has continued without skipping a day since the bakery opened. Sungsimdang is so loved partially because the citizens are very fond of this generosity.
Very noble of them.
Yeah, instead of selling it, they just go ahead and give it away to charity.
Yeah.
We believe we are benefiting the society through the act of selling bread. That's Sungsimdang's company motto, and we will continue doing so.
Sungsimdang is famous nationwide, but its secrets are quite simple. Delicious baked goods, traditions kept through time, and the good heart that looks after society.
And there it is. That's the famous bread.
Yes, I've brought some here for you guys today. This is the fried streusel, and this is the chive bun. So you can feel free to go ahead and give that a try.
Okay, sure. I'll pass one over to you, Yan.
Yeah, have a taste.
Right, and I'm gonna go for the sobodo. Oh, so good.
I'm gonna go for the chive bun.
And those are quite fried.
That's the fried, right? Yeah, we did see it. It wasn't baked, but it was fried.
Absolutely,
Which makes it just all
with the red bean paste
better.
inside.
Yeah, looking at this chive bun, these baked goods seems more like a fusion style rather than traditional style. So is that one of the reasons that led to such a big success?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And part of the fusion you're talking about is actually because 2 to 3 times a year, the bakery holds a competition, a bakery invention competition between the employees. So the employees get to compete against each other for prizes and promotions. And this allows them to come up with all sorts of new flavor ideas. So these sorts of new flavors and products are put on the shelves for consumers to try. And it gives an incentive for the employees to be creative. And if the consumers don't like what they taste, though, they take them off store shelves right away. So not only do they support tradition, they're supporting more innovation in their baking. And that's definitely a secret to their success.
I remember reading in the newspapers that these local small bakeries were closing shop because of all the large conglomerates jumping in the business. But it seems like they're striking back these days.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of different bakeries around Korea that are doing great things, independent bakeries that are becoming a lot bigger than they used to be. And the thing is, most of those are actually outside of Seoul. There's a few here I'd like to mention. Sungsimdang Bakery in Gunsan, Jeonnabuk-do province, which is famous for being actually the first ever bakery in Korea. It makes more than 10 billion won or 9.9 million US dollars a year on red bean buns and veggie buns alone. There's also the Mammoth Bakery in Andong, Gyeongsang-buk-do province, known for its cream buns, and it even made it on the Michelin Green Guides along with Sungsimdang Bakery. And so you can see that there's a lot of success going on with these, what were previously independent small bakeries that have expanded.
Yeah, notice none of us are talking. We're so busy eating right now. But you mentioned these small bakeries, and this is also a fad, a trend of these small bakeries, unrepresented by franchises, that are making their way into department stores.
That's
There's more
right.
demand from the stores.
Yeah, absolutely. And for department store owners that I talked to while covering this story, it's a win-win situation because all of these stores have proven their worth, their competitiveness, and their effectiveness over time. And in the case of Sungsimdang, they were actually approached by a department store over and over, really just asking them to join.
They said no, and finally?
And finally it happened, and it was a great decision because they're now making 4 times the profits of the big chain bakeries were making before in the same location every single day. So big success.
But I also heard that Sungsimdang has no plans to open up branches outside of the city of Daejeon. So does that mean we have to go all the way down to Daejeon to get our hands on these breads?
And no. Yes, they see themselves as representing Daejeon and as a major tourist attraction. So they want to stay there and continue to expand there. Now, if you do want to order bread or other baked goods online, you can check out their website and order some of it. Now, these items right here, you can't order because they're very strict about maintaining the flavor. They only sell these on the day that they're baked.
Jinju, that's okay. You can always send Jesse.
I'll go on a run for you guys whenever you need me to.
I
But
wonder
yeah,
if they do international shipping for our international viewers.
I wonder. Yeah, I'm not too sure about that. I don't know if the freshness could be maintained for that long. But the best way to do it really is to go there in person if you can. That's the tastiest, as
Get in
you
line,
can see. Yeah,
right?
get in
That's
line.
exactly how Sungsimdang wants you to have it, right?
Thank you, Jesse, for all of that and these breads.
Thank you very much. I think I will eat some now myself.
Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you.
Now, camping is a huge hobby here in Korea, and it's also big business. It's a 450 billion won industry, and just this year alone, apparently 30 million people have already gone camping. Joining us is Angela Park to talk more about camping and the products involved. This is
Good
for
morning.
the kids, right?
Let me ask you, are you part of that 30 million?
Well, for the first time, I actually went last month, where I went to Nanji, so you can rent everything, right?
So you did contribute to those figures.
I did actually. It was a lot of fun. And the kids, they love love it. And,
Yeah.
you know, they're away from their smartphones, they're away from the tablet computers, and they're just out there, not in the wild, but running around outdoors.
Especially when we're living for, you know, the urban jungle, as we like to call it here in Seoul. It is kind of nice to get away, get in some greens. So today we are focusing on camping, but not just camping gear for adults and families, which is great on its own. But like Young mentioned, kids love this. Not to mention, I think it's a great opportunity for them to really enjoy the outdoors, that is. So camping gear targeting specifically children.
All right, so what do you have for us today?
Okay, so the first one, I'm a little bit nervous. I did practice, but this is from Black Yak, and actually it's called the Yak Kids pop-up tent, so that should give you an idea. Now, the point of this is that it's very easy to set up, right? Because kids should be able to do it. It kind of makes them feel like, hey, I did something with my own hands. Now, the key to this, it's obviously, it looks, our viewers can't pick it up, but it's 2.5 kilograms, which is very light.
Ooh, you know, the ease of setting this up is not really for the kids.
Right.
That's the excuse,
It's
right?
for the parents?
Exactly, because the kids, the parents end up doing it in the first place.
Okay, so Young, you're gonna have to step aside
right.
this way. Actually, you might be in danger on that side.
Okay.
So I'm going to put this on the side. So when you take it out of the bag, this is basically what it looks like, and you see the rubber here to keep it in place. But mere seconds is all it takes. Okay, I don't know if I can land this on the stage, but I will
you can
try.
do it.
Here we go.
Come on.
All right, throw it. Whoa.
There we go.
Did
So
it in one
this
go.
is the tent. And if a kid can't do this, honestly, if I can do it, a kid can do it. So, you know, and it looks a little bit like it's floating, but once you enter it, obviously, it kind of takes a little bit better shape, right?
Okay.
But mere seconds, and the design is targeting children. I think there's like a yak on the side there, is what I'm assuming.
It's on this side. You see it
right,
over
right,
there.
and
that
that
was a
side
monster
as well.
for a second there.
It does look great, right? Wouldn't you be? I
Very
think I'd
much
like it for me,
interested,
just to
yes.
put in the living room.
You know, I was
away
thinking.
from the wife, you know.
Away from your wife.
Are we
Your
having some
man
marital
cave, right?
problems here?
No, but I was thinking, like, this is great for children, and like Young said, you use the excuse, oh, it's easy for kids to set up. But have you ever been to the Han River lately?
Yeah.
So many tents, right?
You're right, you're
and
right.
this is perfect. Just you carry it and then you pop it open at the Han River. You can enjoy it with, I don't know, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your friends very easily.
I love it. I mean, it's you can actually fit two people
Yeah,
or three people
I
in
would
there,
say.
right?
And if you notice, the yak's face, the face part is made out of mesh, so it keeps the bugs out, but yet there's good airflow going through. Not to mention the material is waterproof, so you know it's very convenient.
So a very convenient tent, as you said. I
Yeah.
mean, this takes seconds to set up, but also folding it up is a little bit easier, but a little bit difficult than I think.
No, that
So
takes
we're not gonna
seconds
do
as
that.
well. We'll
Okay.
just leave it on the side.
All right, so what's the price range for one of those?
This is actually pretty reasonable. It's a little over 100,000 won. So not too bad considering that it does save you time and it gives you convenience, right? So that's the point there.
Sounds great. All right, now our second item. This is another practical tent that we have. It takes a little bit more. It's not a one-touch tent, right?
Yes, it does have poles for this one, as you can see, but it looks like an explorer type of bunker, right? And that's actually the name of it, Explorer Bunker. It's by Caperland, and actually Caperland, it's under Petit Ellen, but they launched a brand specifically for children camping gear. So right behind you, Young, you can see more items for Caperland. This was launched last April. So they have lanterns, they have bags, they have gear. But today we're gonna focus on this Explorer Bunker and a sleeping bag.
Well, let's first ask SJ how it is from the inside. SJ, how is it? How is it in there? He's been waiting
When
in
did
there.
he sneak that bread in there?
When did you get that bread?
I'm camping. You know, I'll be honest with you. I'm a grown man, right? But this is pretty spacious for even for a grown man.
You kind of look small in there, actually, SJ.
Well, it's deceiving because the inside is actually pretty, big. I think. Yeah.
So you plus how many kids would fit in there? What do you think?
Like 3 more, I think.
3 more, maybe infants.
All right, well, looking at this, though, it's a little bit more complex to set up, I would imagine.
Are we just going to keep SJ here?
SJ, I mean, you can do, you want
SJ,
to
ask
sit down?
any question you want. You're a very special
Let's get out,
guest for
SJ.
today.
Stand up with us.
The getting out part is the hard one, I think, in
He
my
was so
opinion.
comfortable, Young. We
there
could have
you
just
go.
left him there. There we go.
There you
but
go.
SJ, an adult can fit in it, demonstrating the spaciousness of our Caperland tent.
Okay.
How did he get in there? Anyway, but yeah, the design is targeting children. You know, we see the pirate flag going on. Kids are very they pay attention to detail. They like the visual aspect, so this is good for that.
Little windmill here or there.
Yeah, and this material as well keeps out the wind, the rain, and the poles. It looks a little more complicated, but there's just 4 main poles. You use other connecting poles to put it together, and it's actually a lot easier than you think. So kids can enjoy it.
Okay, there it is. That's how you set it up. I mean, it's just like a day in the park, a walk in the park, as you can say.
Right. So if you look at the process, it's really not that bad. Being that he's actually at the Han River right now. We mentioned the Han River, right? And it's just so many tents galore. So the easier it is, the more time you can save. Not to mention the kids will have fun kind of pretending to be explorers, because that's the theme that this explorer bunker is going with.
It's amazing to see how much the camping industry has grown in Korea, because there really wasn't that much camping, let's say a decade ago, right? But then now they have the lines out for the children.
Exactly.
And kids are involved.
Yes. Now, but if you notice, SJ looked incredibly comfortable in there for 2 reasons. One, the tent, but the second one was the sleeping bag. If you're going camping, you need a sleeping bag, right? So, Young, actually, would you pick up that bag right behind you? The color looks
like
good
a
on you.
Just throw it out there
No. Please don't throw this one. Okay. But it does pack nice and compactly into this little bag. So again, the whole point is convenience and making it as easy as possible. So as Young pulls out this sleeping bag, once again, this is from Caperland as well. Oh, by the way, not to mention this tent behind you, it's about 88,000.
Okay.
So for our viewers who are interested, right? But this is made out of 100% polyester. Now, what that means is that it's cozy, it's warm, but also it's waterproof and it keeps the dirt out as well. So it's perfect for camping. Now, I don't know, I may be able to squeeze into this.
No, I think you can. I think even someone like SJ can fit into it.
SJ, right, but just in case you can't, if you open it up all the way, you can actually spread it like a blanket as how we have set up in the tent. So, you can use it as a blanket, you can squeeze yourself in here and use it as a sleeping bag as well, and it's perfect for children.
All right, well, sounds great. You have some great items over here. The sleeping bags, I mean, they look very convenient as well. And now I think this is something that the kids will enjoy. Minjung, I think you have a wonderful backyard. You could just set this out there and kick the kids outdoors.
And I love it that it comes in pink, because not a lot of camping gears come in pink. My daughter would love that.
I think if you guys notice, overall, it's a lot more brighter products because, like Minjung mentioned, you got to attract the kids, right? So.
Okay, you want them to go with you to the camping trip. No, Daddy, I don't want to go.
I
You're
want
like,
my smartphone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Angela.
All right, that's a wrap for today's show.
We'll be back at 7 a.m. tomorrow. Thank you for watching.
Bye-bye.